Howdy, folks. Darren Ray Fonso here to talk about workers' compensation, or labor and industries as we call it here in the state of Washington and across America and Canada. Because we have a genocide and a war on injured workers going on that many folks know about. Other folks are getting slowly educated about it. But today I feel the topic is going to be whether or not injured workers should label or call the abuse that they have had to endure, some of them for 12, 15 years, even some for 30 years, that they can't call the abuse that they have, the psychological and emotional abuse they have had to endure for all those decades, some of them, that they cannot call that rape. Well, I have to call foul on my fellow injured workers out there that want to tell other injured workers and work comp victims, because some of us are victims. And I know some of you are at like the first year or the second year and you're being treated a little good. They're actually out screwing you yet. And so you come on to our work comp sites and you tell us all how we're drama queens. Well, I'm sorry, sir, that you were raped as a child. But you don't get to take that grief and that you are harboring and that ill resentment for that was done to you, and then go around and re-rape injured workers of America and Canada. Because that is what you're doing when you go around and you tell other injured workers that they can't call the genocide and oppression for which they have had to endure, and the emotional rape that they have been, psychological legalized war they have been drugged through, that they cannot call that rape. You have your nerve to tell them that they are diminishing folks who have real rape things going on. Or let's not call it real, let's just call it physical rape, because it's not a difference between one being more real than the other, because they're both real. Rape, whether it's emotional or physical, is still rape, sir. And I can talk on the subject, as you say you were raped, or somehow as a young person or as an adult, I don't know. But you claim that because you have been raped and you are an injured worker that has not been put through 7 years of hell, or 8 years of hell, or 12 years of hell, you're at like a year and a half or 2 years of your struggle. And you're telling the other ones that, oh gee, you're drama queens for expressing in your grief and you're crying out in your rage that it's an emotional rape that has been waged upon you. So you have your nerve, or whoever it is, and I'm not going to say it is this other injured worker, it is not alone. The industry sends trolls and other injured workers, believe it or not, that are gullible and sign right up with the whole take deep breaths and I don't need pain meds and I'm going to suck it up and get through this, and they're getting their time lost, and so they're working with them. So they want to come on and use some of those postal children to come around and tell us all we're sniveling little drama queens. Yet that person has not lived through the hell, the work compel, or the saga that the other injured workers have, that are telling us that this is an emotional and psychological rape. And it's not only that. I have to say that court documents are documenting that this is an emotional rape, and in Canada we're calling it a human rights violation. The psychological raping through the work comp trauma in Canada, sir, was called a human rights violation. And I'm sorry, I have a case like that myself. And now you like to say, well, you get to say that you get to make a claim that all the rest of us don't get to label our abuse as rape because our rape wasn't as egregious as your rape, you feel. Rape is rape, sir, whether it's emotional or physical, they both are egregious. And us injured workers need that rape addressed on a national and international level at this point. And so for somebody else to come on there because they have suffered, okay, that's what I'm going to get here to. I too have suffered this as a child, and I have had to live through it as the after effects of that as an adult, and deal with it still today. Because I still am in as IOP mental health treatment twice a week. So when you tell me this is not a psychological or rape of the work comp injured workers, I have to totally disagree with you, and totally beg to differ. So that's what I was going to say. I had it happen to me as a child. I also helped fight against the Catholic Portland archdiocese there, one of the archbishops. I communicated in a letter and had to correspond, fighting for my brother who was raped by one of the priests as a child, to recoup some of the damages that was done to him, and they did award him a settlement. So when you talk about rape and rape of males, I know about that. And as an injured worker who has also had to struggle through 7 years of hell, I can tell you that the psychological and emotional rape is the same, sir, whether it's physical or emotional. I can also tell you, sir, and those other people out there like that who believe like this injured worker, and those from the insurance industry that have this attitude, how about going to jail over your work comp case? Is that not a rape? How about having a SWAT team at your house with like 5 men out there with snipers pointed at you? Does that not constitute a psychological rape, sir? Now, I'm sorry that you were abused as a child. I was as well. But that does not negate the psychological raping that is being done to me once again, by my work comp, broken state work comp system. And so, yes, I can compare both rapes to being equally harmful to us as humans. So when other injured workers who try to come on here and try to tell my other injured worker community that they're sniveling and they're crying and they're drama queens because they are calling it rape and that they're diminishing other rape victims, I call foul on that, because as one of the rape victims, both ways, and now gone on for years, and my father was harmed by this when I was a kid for 9 years. My father-in-law was just worked to death by the state, the insurers, and Sedgwick and Walmart. If that don't constitute some kind of fucking psychological rape going on there, then I don't know what you want to call it. So this going around and trying to diminish the injured workers who are crying that this emotional rape is a rape to them, those injured workers who are doing that to the other injured workers are diminishing our raping. And ours is an emotional rape, and it is true, and it's constituted, it's documented. And so for anybody out, other injured workers or industry trolls, to come on and tell the injured workers are just drama queens, because you're saying that this, what has been done, the gauntlet of hell. We've got a report out of Hawaii how this is a work comp hell that we have been put through, a gauntlet, a legal maze for 9 years for one lady, another one 15 years before she settled. And you don't get to tell the work comp victims that it's not a psychological and emotional rape, because that's what the fuck it was when I was a kid, when it was done to me, and when it is done to me as an adult. It's still fucking rape, sir, and ladies and gentlemen who still have that attitude, because that I am not going to tolerate in my injured workers community. This is a raping, it's a psychological warfare, and it's psychological rape, and it's being carried out at will on sniffs and grins that we then have to endure years of battle. I am so insulted and disgusted that somebody would even come in our community and spout that kind of nonsense. Now, I'm going to say I feel sorry for those people and this particular injured worker, that you were hurt so bad from your rape, and you haven't apparently dealt with it, that you got to go out and emotionally re-rape other injured workers because you were hurt so bad, and you haven't dealt with it yet enough to realize that now you are re-raping other injured workers with your attitude and coming out and feeling the need to tell them they can't call their emotional rape and psychological warfare that was played out on them rape, when many of them are women who have suffered both rapes, the physical one and this emotional one, and they too are telling us, sir, that it is a psychological rape. And besides your opinion, the courts and the judges have agreed to it. Like I say, it's called a human rights violation in Canada now, because one worker who had the same case as mine, where we were pushed to the psychological brink, that it flips our heads. But anyways, I'm just disgusted and taken back. And so that's why I say I feel sorry for this other injured worker who feels that his rape, that we are diminishing your rape, sir. I'm sorry, and I apologize if you feel that I am diminishing your rape from when you were a child, because I'm screaming out now for the emotional rape being done to the injured workers being put through work comp hell in a legal maze. Now, if you haven't gotten screwed or fucked by the work comp hell yet, then you can't talk about it, sir. You can talk about the one from when you were a kid, but if comp hasn't fucked you yet to a point that you're not calling it rape like the rest of us, then baby, you ain't been put in the closet yet like the rest of us have. We need to talk about this as a work comp community, as an injured workers community, whether we can call it a psychological rape or not. That's one biggie right there that we need to come together on. Besides the fact, now I tolerate a lot of stuff. I am a bleeding heart liberal, as people know, and I tolerate a lot from the conservative right that want to come on and tell me blah, 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 blah. And I endure that, and I tolerate that. But this nonsense is totally disgusting to me at this point, because you're trying to tell me your abuse is not as bad as theirs abuse. It's the same thing that the industry likes to do to us, fly somebody around that got their arm cut off, or somebody else like that. Like they told one police officer was told when she was injured on the job that, well, we got an officer that doesn't have an arm. Well, that person was born without that arm to start with. Yet the officer who had been shot through both arms was told that she probably should, she's faking or something. But anyways, you don't get to compare your rape to somebody else's rape and then tell them, well, you can't call yours rape. You don't get to call your abuse, say, that is just annoying. Oh, well, that's just as bad as, well, your injury wasn't as bad as my injury. I'm going to leave it at that. I wanted to do a short video. It's already been too long. But this telling other injured workers who have endured, some of these people have endured this abuse for over 30 years now. They will probably never get justice. Some of them at 15 probably still might get it. I'm sorry for the ones that haven't, but I'm glad their voices are still out there and that they are telling us that it's an emotional fucking rape. Thank you for those ladies out there and gentlemen. Let's not forget them, because they're screaming the same goddamn thing. And the person that in Canada where they called it an emotional rape was a male. So come off your high horse that I was a male and I was raped as a fucking child, so therefore you can't call what this psychological war rape on you now. No, I'm not buying that, brother. I can and I will call what was done to me as a child and to me as an adult and to my father and to my father-in-law, which we call an institutional and generational psychological and emotional rape at this point. Anyways, there's the bell. Gotta go. Have a good day, and please love one another. Don't tell other injured workers that you're not hurt enough, and don't scream and cry. Have a good day.